Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Jenny Aiello, and this is With Love, Jenny, a podcast where we meet ourselves right in the heart of our vulnerability and authenticity. In this sacred space where it's just you and I dive into real life, rich with wisdom and opportunities for deep healing. I explore what it means to truly connect to ourselves, to each other, and to something much greater than us all. In each podcast, I like to meet life right where it touches us most, in our tenderness, in our truth, in our struggles and our strength. So wherever you are on your journey, or whatever it is that you're carrying, no matter how light or heavy, just know I'm so grateful that you're here with me today. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin today's episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to With Love, Jenny. I want to take a moment and just thank you again for being here. This is a place where we explore the heart and soul of what it means to live a truly fulfilling life. And Kristen and I love meeting with you guys. We love that we're building community. And today we're diving in to that topic of community, because that touches each one of us deeply, our community, as well as the importance of belonging. And if you think that sounds uninspiring, please just wait. This opened up a huge process for me. So you'll see why. In a world that often feels disconnected, finding our place and building meaningful connections can be daunting, but it can also be a transformative experience once we do. And we're going to explore how communities can shape our identities, but mostly provide support and enrich our lives in ways that we may not even realize. So grab your walking shoes if you're walking, or a cup of coffee, get comfy, and join us as we uncover the profound impact of belonging and how we can contribute to creating a more connected and compassionate world. So one of my clients shared an Instagram post with me, and after one of our coaching, she shared it after we hung up from one of our coaching calls, and she was addressing her feelings of depression and isolation. And I want to read this post to you. These are not my words, but they were so well written. I couldn't say it better. So I'm just going to use this person's words. I don't even know her, but I want to thank her in advance for writing this post. So I'm just going to start reading it to you. These are not my words again, and I'll let you know who wrote it at the end. She says, I think it was Brene Brown who told a story about a village where all the women washed clothes together down by the river. When they all got washing machines, there was a sudden outbreak of depression, and no one could figure out why. It wasn't the washing machines in and of themselves. It was the absence of time spent doing things together. It was the absence of community. Friends, we've gotten so independent. We're fine, we tell ourselves, even when in reality, we're depressed, we're overwhelmed, we're lonely, and we're hurting. We're fine. We're just too busy right now, we say, when days and weeks and months and years go by without connecting with family or friends. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. It's so easy to say, even when it's not true. We've become so isolated, and it's hard to know how to get back. How do we get back into community? It's so hard to know how to even begin to build the kind of relationships our hearts need. And I think in our current culture, it's just not as organic as it once was. It's actually like more work now. Because, we have our own washing machines. We don't depend on each other to do laundry or cook dinner or raise babies anymore. We don't really depend on each other for much of anything, if we're being honest. In Brene Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness, she says that being lonely affects the length of our life expectancy, similar to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I don't say that to freak anyone out, but to let you know that the longing for connection is legit. I think we've treated friendship like a luxury for far too long. Friendship isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. We don't want it. We kind of need it. Be independent. Be proud of it. But be an independent woman who realizes the value and the importance of opening the door to other good women. You can do it alone, but you don't have to. Islands are only fun for so long. There is true magic when women come together and hold hands and share ideas and share stories and share struggles. You use your gifts and I'll use mine, and then we'll invite that woman over there who brings a completely different set of skills to the table that we are building. And we'll watch together as something miraculous unfolds. Sister, I am with you. Ingrid Brandstetter. That's who wrote that. Wow. What powerful words. So first, I want to share one of my recent stories, because when I read this, I went straight to this most recent memory. Bob and I fulfilled a very big dream that we've carried since day one of our relationship, and that is to visit his father's homeland and home, actual literal home he grew up in Italy. And it's a small little mountain village. And I was going through photos before we left, and I opened his mother's photo album. And in the back, there were some handwritten papers of the family tree and stories. There was a story about a fountain in the town where they lived, and they called it a fountain, and it's where everyone went to wash their clothes. So I'm picturing an Italian style fountain in my head. And when we got there, it was literally a spring water source of water coming through the side of the mountain along a road that they had built 2 big wash tubs. And it was like where they washed their clothes. And I thought, when I was there and I looked at it, we were taking pictures, because it was just, we were right there where, Bob's ancestors stood and did their laundry together. All the women gathered and washed their clothes. And so I remembered thinking and laughing, maybe that's where the expression air your dirty laundry came from, because I could just imagine all these women washing out their clothes and maybe scrubbing out their irritation on the washboard, as they rinsed and washed and rinsed and put them in the laundry basket to take home and dry on their clothesline. And I was picturing it in my mind and thinking, that's community. Doing things like mundane tasks like laundry was a gathering. Even that became a gathering. And then as we have industrialized and modernized, thank goodness, because boy, that would have been hard to go do laundry that way, because you had to walk a long way to get to this place. I just thought, with that evolution of our industrialized way of being, even down to communicating on Zoom and through phones, we don't have that physical presence with each other near as often as I think we need to. And so I used to be, I thought, very extroverted, but I learned I was an extroverted introvert, because I really do need and want. And as I've grown and done a lot of work, I think my natural state is an appreciation for solitude. But that solitude can easily fall into isolation, to where I could hole up in my house for days and be just fine. And I think that we've also seen how comfortable we can be in our own home, in our own company post-COVID. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too, because that literally isolated us from one another. And we went months without hugs and holding hands and supporting one another and being in each other's physical presence. I think women especially need each other. We need each other and our community. And I truly believe that. And we used to see women getting together for quilting, for book clubs. Church groups met weekly. Back in the day, they did gather and do things like their laundry. And so what are we doing today? Where's your community? Who is your community? How often are you with them? How often, even families, I think family can be our community, but now we've gotten to a place where our families are spread out across the world, so in some cases, but certainly not next door or living on Walton Mountain together. And so it's finding where is that community that even in all your differences get so connected on such a soul level that you find your commonality, you find what's true and how you can support each other. I know people's heart and soul, and I hold space for that no matter what they're feeling or what they believe or how alike we are. So, Kristen, what's your experience of community and how do you handle, because we talk about, both of us, enjoy our quiet solitude, but how does that interfere with that place of connection, and where do you have that?
Well, I think growing up, community was always very important to me in my friendships with my girlfriends. I was actually always addicted to meeting new friends, and I loved it. I thrived on it. I thrived on my friendships. Then I had children, and you get busy, busy, busy. And the last thing that you want to do when you have a free night is go have coffee with somebody. I mean, that's how I feel. And you can have all of the great intentions in the world and make those plans to go have the coffee. And then the day comes, you're like, I really don't want to do that. But when you do force yourself to do it, you come out of it like, I needed that so much. Like you forget how much you need your girlfriends.
Right.
And I can get in a huge rut because I get overwhelmed very easily. So my alone time is it's like medicine to me. And I've come to realize that. So it's hard for me to reach out now and be like, hey, do you want to hang out? And even I have two really good girlfriends that we make time to hang out with each other, but it's hard with our schedules too.
Right.
So, but when we finally do, one of my really bestest friends, and we talk about anything and everything, like it's just, I don't know. It's a healing for the soul therapy time.
Right. And it's understanding what is it that happens there, right?
Right.
I find that when I need that community of some sort, and I want to, like, I have friends that if we go out, they make me laugh. I mean, we're silly and we laugh. One particular one just cracks me up all the time. And I love that. I need laughter and lightheartedness as part of my community. But I also looked at, well, when did I stop and why did I stop spending time in certain arenas of my life? And sometimes I think you're right. We are so busy that we really don't stop to connect to ourselves. We really haven't stopped to check in with ourselves to say, how am I doing? What do I need? What matters to me? And all we talk about are the surface part of life. It's the busy schedule, or gripe about the husband and what he's not doing, or talk about all the things that I worry about, or I talk, and there's a place and a time for those things. And I don't know if I feel like I want us to explore the formula of being real and not too real. You don't want to just pull up to the table, sit down, and then dump everything that is real for you on the table that makes you feel better. And everybody's sitting there like, ooh, what do I do with that? But at the same time, not sit there and do chit chat about things that you don't even know. You just invested 2 or 3 hours with your girlfriends and you don't really know what anybody said. What did we actually talk about? What really mattered? Getting into wholesome and healthy and forwarding conversations and connection of finding out, how are you doing? How are you doing? How can I help and support you without it turning into therapy, but also not, what'd you eat for lunch yesterday? Was it good? I ate this for lunch yesterday. And it's like, oh, okay, but how are you doing in the midst of that? And really finding ways to connect. So I think we're losing the art of connecting in a wholesome way where we are real and not sitting on the surface of life, where that's not where the real connection can happen. It'll be a connection, and you certainly can feed off each other's energy, but kind of set that intention of, I want a place where I go and gather with like-minded people and learn, or I want to join a drum circle and just go beat my drum with them and feel the rhythm and the connection that way. Or I want to go to a church group or a Bible study and feel my spiritual food, getting like I come back feeling like I gained a new perspective on something, or I deepened my relationship with myself and others. Do I want to just have play a card game? There's people who gather and play bridge or mahjong or, and they feel stimulated, but they're sharing food and laughing at the same time, and it's setting that intention of, what am I going to get out of this? And what can I bring to the table when we do have a connection? Because I don't think we had to ever think twice about doing that before, but I have so many clients who feel isolated and they don't know how to re-engage. They don't know where their people are. And then sometimes they get together and it's not fulfilling. It's not feeding their soul, or their mind or their spirit. And they feel better isolating than connecting. So one of the things I know Kristen and I talked about was we were talking about this topic for the podcast, and it's the magical thing that happened, a byproduct. When I started doing retreats 15, 16 years ago, we would come together and we did really deep work, and it was hard, and it was yet so fulfilling that people have come back time and time again. People return, not every year, maybe every other year, some people every year. And, it's boiled down to where I have so many returning that it's a core group of people that come to retreat. They may not see each other the whole year in between, but when they come back together, it's very powerful. And Kristen, you've been on the receiving end of that. Can you talk a little bit about what you think the ingredients are that make that bond and that type of connection and community so important to you?
Well, the way Jenny structures her retreats, you are immediately put in watching people without their masks on. Mm-hmm. Which is can be very shocking. Mm-hmm. But it's like you're jumping in. We're going all in, and she's bringing our true selves out.
Yes.
And when you witness that with a group of people on more than one occasion, like you get together with them yearly. That's been how I've been able to do it. Not everyone in retreat's been able to do it that way. Like similar women, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like the coming of washing your clothes together.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what it's like.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was kind of chuckling when you said maybe that's where the term airing your dirty laundry comes from. And I'm like, that has to be it.
It might be, because where else would that come from? Right.
But we're also not doing it in a venting way.
No.
It's a healing way. We're not there to come to the person's help to save them. We're there to witness them. We're there to support them. And in doing so, like everyone goes through their own process. They each come to retreat with something that they want to work on. And the universe magically brings a group together that needs to be there together, because you're not only healing from your process, you're healing from their process. Like there is some bond, common thread between all of us. And it is mind blowing to experience it. And my body craves it every year. And I've only gone to 3. And this year, the way that it played out, I wasn't able to go. And I literally feel physically like, oh my God, I'm not going to retreat. I'm not going to be with these women that rejuvenate my soul.
Right. And so that's what I want to talk about, because we love our retreats. Yes. What is it about that? How do we form that kind of community and bond without having to wait for a retreat? Like you couldn't go this year. So how do you recreate that? What's it take to find a way? Can you do that? It's not something that can happen over dinner or cocktails. It's not something, even even when we meet on such a soul level, people will sit down and there'll be a new person at retreat that nobody knows and they don't know everybody else there. And by the end of retreat, the thing that people say is this perfect stranger now knows me better than some of the closest people in my life.
Right. Things you would never open your mouth about to anyone else.
Right. And so why do we hold back? I guess that's my question is why do we hide? Why do we wear masks? Why do we feel we can't be authentic and transparent with other people? Like what is the disconnect? When in my work, as you know, it's about listening. It's really giving people the experience of being heard. And in our retreats, they're seen, but they're also heard. And so that's part of what is in that magic formula is really stopping and listening and not thinking about your response, not thinking about giving them advice. Like you said, we're not here to save them or rescue them. It's simply witnessing. What is it that you're experiencing right now? Witness it, honor it, and support them and hold them capable of finding their way through it, which gives them confidence that they can. And I think that I remember one time, you know how you go in a store and they say, oh, do you have a rewards with us or whatever they ask? And it's usually a phone number, and they look you up in their system. I know our Office Depot does that. They're like, do you have a phone number here? I can never remember which phone number we used when we first set it up. And I would start reciting. Well, it could be this number. It could be this, our office number, our home number, my cell phone number, Bob's number, whose number is in your system. And it always is like, and we have a fax number. And I'm like, we have so many phone numbers. And I feel more disconnected than I ever have before. And I think it's not because I have all these phones, it's that I don't use them to reach out and connect or set up a lunch date or connect and build my community. And so how do we use the telephone, and how do we recreate our laundry dates, if we're not washing them in the river? How do we find ways to build community? I know, again, the beauty of the internet, they have meetups where you can meet up, you can form a meetup and everybody knows that they can gather and do something that everybody loves to do. Bird watching groups, again, those are not necessarily connecting to each other. They're connecting to a like activity. And I think that is another thing of how do we actually connect to another human being? And I would love your thoughts on that.
Well, it's interesting. My best friend created a book club for a group of us. Gosh, it had to have been at least 6 months now. And her whole point was, yes, we're going to be reading a book, but let's get a group of women together.
Yes.
And it's been really interesting because it's very different types of women. Like not like you're like-minded, I'm going to go towards that person. That's who I want to hang out with. And I think we were all kind of at first like, okay. But now we've gotten to know each other. Like there's a core group of us that goes to every monthly meeting and we read the book together. And we don't even talk about the book the whole time.
Yeah.
We talk about life stuff. And I'm like, people that I would probably normally be closed off to because they're not like me and I've gotten to know them, I'm like, I really like this person. I don't know. It's something about like the community of not hand choosing people that are just like you. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to get at, but it's been an interesting journey.
I think that's a key point. I'm glad you said that because I think we've become as a society more comfortable with the people who are like us, especially in a political arena. If they don't think like us, we're more like judgy about it. Instead of tell me why that matters to you, we just automatically write people off. A lot of people do that. They're more comfortable not having their beliefs challenged. They're more comfortable being with people who are just like them. And a book club is something synonymous with variety of people, right? Like a lot of different people will read the book and then give lots of different interpretations of what the book is saying and what they're taking from it. And I've had people started to say people get upset. Like I joined this book club and we don't even read the books, and it's like, because what probably the underwriting intention is that we connect and we have a topic that we can discuss. Books can be that topic, but it's about that connection. It's exploring different points of view. It's being open to allowing someone to be fundamentally different. And yet we have the commonality of being another woman, being another human, there is more in common than what we know, but we have to be able to get past our rigidity, our judgments, our fear of being exposed to somebody that's not like us. Our judgment is big. We size people up pretty quick, and we see that happening. If someone, supports one or the other political points of view, we stereotype them and pigeonhole them into that kind of person without getting to really know what's underneath that. And I think maybe that's part of the disconnect in our society, is that we don't feel safe to be transparent. Are we safe to take off our mask? One of the things at retreat that we do every time is create safety through ground rules and boundaries and what's appropriate and what's not. And one of the big areas of that showing up is if someone does have a process where they've become very vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable, and shared something, not to have another person run up and hug them and say, oh my gosh, that happened to me too. Let me tell you all about it. Because you hijack them from their healing. They have to put closure around. Their soul just opened up. It's like putting dirty, sticky handprints all over a clean window, and it's like, we don't want to rush in to people when they've opened up. And that's a skill, and that's a boundary that has to be reinforced. So if we could learn to do that with one another, to say, because she just shared something vulnerable. She didn't ask me to fix it. She didn't ask me to give my advice. She hasn't asked me what my opinion is. She hasn't asked me for anything except to just hear it. And so saying back, what I hear you say is that when that happened, you really felt betrayed. And they'll look at you like, oh, the relief of, yes, that's what I was feeling, right? That's all. Just what I hear you say is this. Is that right? Yes. No. Fix it. Refine it. But stay in their process without hijacking it and telling them about yours or your experience. Or I know how you feel. People don't. Even if you've had the exact same thing happen, we really don't know how they're feeling, because they're a conglomeration of all kinds of other experiences that I haven't had in relation to that. So learning how to listen and create a safe space so people can open up and share who they are authentically is probably the foundation of building those connected communities. We also talk about the old days of women gathering doing their laundry or quilting bees or whatever, and someone says something and they leave and then they go tell 4 people what somebody said. The gossip starts, and that's not safe. It's not safe. And if you know that somebody cannot help themselves and they're going to start talking about what you just shared with all the rest of the community when it was something private, or the community takes that out into the world and, shares, you won't believe what this person did or said or experienced. It's one thing for you to process it, but protect and honor the identity of another person's personal share, right? If they've shared that with you in confidence, keep it in confidence. And if they've shared with you something vulnerable, let it be about them and not make it about you, or hijack their process or contaminate it. So I think part of our connection is that we've lost the art of creating safe space for people.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise for me after my first retreat is I didn't I don't know if I've ever really experienced that, or maybe it had been a really, really long time where I had experienced something similar to that. And I didn't realize what had been happening until my way home, and I was just bawling. I think I cried my whole way home, and it's like a 4-hour trip. I had, for the first time in a long time, or maybe ever, was seen and supported and held, but not even that. I was doing that for others. And it was just such an experience that I wasn't used to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing when you experience being heard and seen in a safe space and supporting others to be seen and heard in that same safe space. It's an incredible experience. It's overwhelming to our spirit. And I think it brings relief. It brings peace. It brings you face to face with you. You know, it provides a mirror of who you are. And it's almost like a reunion with you and your own soul when you have that kind of connection. It's a beautiful thing. And it's almost like when you see someone that you haven't seen and your eyes tear up, you know, and you get so full of emotion. When it's happy, it's a happiness emotion, but it can also be a sad that I've gone my whole life and I didn't even know or pay attention to these parts of me that I didn't.
Yeah, that's a big part of it too.
Yeah. And it can be overwhelming, you know, in that sense, but it's in a good way. And it's so hard to explain it afterward to people who don't understand that. It's like you have to experience that to understand it, what that is. And, you know, I know marketing my retreats, it's like, I can't put it into words. I can't describe what happens because it's something that feels magical to me. It's something that you witness, but you didn't create. And it's that bringing my authentic soul into the circle. We call it our sacred circle. And it meets your sacred soul and your sacred soul and your sacred soul. And we hold hands and we hold each other. And agendas and opinions and judgments don't exist in that space. There's no room for them in that space. You can close that space out and go home and then start having your opinions and judgment because our egos love to do that. But when you're in that safe place, it's like, I think it's holy. I feel like we're on holy ground when you are connected to a community of women that aren't all just like you. But
right.
In fact,
we're all different ages. We all come from different religious backgrounds, political beliefs.
Yes, everything. There's not common ground really anywhere except when you go deep into your soul.
Yes.
And there you find that connection. And there you find the true essence of who you are and not who the world tells you are. You're not labeled by human standard. You show up through our being, who we are, our soul. I just go back to it. And it is truly an amazing experience to have that. So you might have a friend that is like that you stay connected to. They say at the end of your life, if you can count those friends during your lifetime that you had that soul level connection with, and you can count them on one hand, you're blessed. If you have 5 in your whole lifetime. And I think we have more than that right now because we do this work, you know, as a community. And so that's what I'm curious about exploring, or what are ways that we can create that? What are ways to find that? You know, do you have to go to a retreat with a facilitator to create the rules and safe space and guide you there? Or is this something we can do day to day? Do we start with just calling one friend and taking the chance and setting it up to talk about something deep that's not necessarily sad or a problem? You know, that's our vulnerability tends to go into, I'm hurting because my husband told me I was fat and, you know, I'm feeling bad. And we talk about something, or we, you know, are grieving, or we're just overall dealing with, you know, anxiety and depression, are heavy and I'm just in it and I just need to keep finding somebody who will listen because I'm trying to find my way out of it. It can also be laughter. It can be lightheartedness. It can be, finding ways to talk about what matters to me most of all isn't necessarily the topic of why that's important to me, but the soul level part of why that's important to me. And I think that's what we're trying to do is get deeper from the surface, going deep down into the feelings underneath the things that we talk about. Why is that? Why is that community important to you? Why is this person important to you? How do you nurture that kind of space? How much of you are you able to show up for? Do you like it because they rescue you and you get to be right? Do they just feed your ego? We all love that friend, right? Like they agree with you and tell you, oh, you have a right to be so mad and they should never do that. And I won't. I'll go beat them up for you if you want me to. And it's like, oh, we feel so vindicated and protected, but maybe disempowered.
I think one thing, at least for me, for friendship right now, it needs to be structured in a way. Otherwise, I'll let time slip by. Like if we say, okay, let's try to get together once a month, put it on the calendar. I've been able to do that with 2 people. Actually, it's been work related. I don't work with them anymore, but we meet up once a month.
Yeah.
I talk to this one person more than I talk to my sister. And I meet up with her once a month.
Yeah.
So I need that structure. Like my stepmom and I talk every week. We have a standing call. Sometimes I'm tired and I don't want to do it, but I still do it. And it always fills my cup.
Right. So what I hear is structure, but also commitment.
Yes.
The commitment.
Because I have a really good friend that Jenny knows, and she lives about an hour from me. And we've been trying to get together for a year, and things come up on her side, on my side. And we have a special bond, but we don't see each other. We don't even really talk to each other that often because we're in different phases of life with our children.
Right. And life is fast and crowded and loud and busy. And it can drain us. It's you wake up and put yourself out in the world and do your work and your family. And at the end of the day, you don't have a lot of energy left to say, okay, I'll show up for this. Right. But when you do, it's what you need. It's where you go to the well to be fed, right? To quench the thirst of your soul. Because a lot of what you're doing all day, I used to say when I was raising 5 kids and I lived in my car. I was driving somebody somewhere, every morning, every afternoon. In between that, I'm doing laundry and cleaning bathrooms and going to the grocery store and stocking the pantry and making things, prepping dinner and getting homework supplies and just all the stuff that you do, in a busy day. There was never really anybody stopping to go, wow, thank you for going to the store and cleaning my bathroom and, doing the laundry, Mom. Like it's what you do. And you're not expecting the accolades for it, but it can be draining. It can be hard to just get all that done. And at the end of the day, where's my inspiration? Where is the time for Jenny? That was Jenny's time for family and home and work or career, or whatever phase of life I was in. But where is it that I go to be fed? And for me, I started my day every day lighting a candle and sitting in that holy space with my own soul. I called it soul dates, where I would journal and talk about what's my soul feeling? What am I feeling in my heart? Is my heart hurting? Is it needing inspiration? And I would read and I just checked in with myself and gave myself a little spoonful of energy and connection. And then I went about my day, but I also needed my community. And I had a home-based business for, 10, 12 years. And it forced, because it was a business, we had to have meetings and we had to gather and we would go to conferences together. And there was that same core group that was my team, and we had more fun and had more happy memories and laughter. And it was based in the telling of our stories, so it took us right into what matters to us in life was part of the business. So we shared our life and our stories and our family and our growth and healing journeys, in a very fun atmosphere. And when that came to an end, I grieved. I missed it. And I didn't know where to go to recreate that, and then I think, when 2020 came and COVID happened, so many new habits were born of isolating and being okay and not knowing how to come back out and re-engage and find each other again. But I think that we've got to pay attention to that. We have to do what you're doing, is I will call and I will show up for that phone call or that coffee, no matter what, because we have to be committed to each other. It doesn't feel good if someone says, I really want to see you. Let's meet once a month. But then they're always an excuse not to, or it's easy. Sometimes stuff happens. Sometimes we do have to cancel. Sometimes, we are sick and we don't want to make them sick, or life happens. But if we try really hard to bookend that, to where it's like, I just don't feel like it today, well, that's a message. You aren't worth that for me right now. I'm not worth it for me to take care of this. And once you get there, it's usually wonderful. And you wonder why you resisted it, because it leaves you filled up rather than drained. But if you're drained so much you can't get there, then you're out of balance. And so it's paying attention to those things as well. But I love what you're saying, Kristen, that you're reaching out, finding ways to build those connections and making it work in your life, because it is full and busy, juggling a lot.
The one thing that's striking a chord with me that you keep saying is the word fun and feeling inspired and creative when you're with your friends. And I feel like we don't even have time to get there, because when we finally get together, we're just catching up. We're venting about things. We're listening to what's going on in each other's lives, and then the time's up. Right. So it's like, where is that fun?
Yeah.
That laughing.
Yeah. How often are we out there laughing together?
Yeah. I love laughing.
I think we all do. And we need it. Laughter is the best medicine. And the world got pretty heavy, and it still is. It's pretty heavy out there. People are very anxious about things. The whole world feels like anything could happen any day, and it's not exactly peaceful feeling. And we need to give ourselves permission to be lighthearted and laugh. We're so serious about serious stuff. We're seriously doing life. And what are things you can do to bring joy and laughter and silliness? And to me, it's letting that little girl in me go out and play. I just want, when my kids were growing up, we used to call it Fun Friday, and would always do something fun. Every Friday, it was the end of the week. We could shake off all the school and work and responsibility of life. And we always called it, let's do Fun Friday. And there was something that brought laughter and joy into our lives. And then when my kids left, we kind of quit doing Fun Fridays. And I think now that I'm talking about it, we're probably going to incorporate that. Bob and I'll find something fun to do and embrace Fun Fridays, and just, it can be fun. It can be full of laughter, or it can be, relaxing. It can be, let's go to a baseball game. I love going to baseball games, and we have a little minor league baseball team here, and I love going to there and just sitting in the bleacher, relaxing and watching the game and not caring as much about whether my team wins or not, liking it if they do, but not heartbroken if they don't, because it's just really about being at the game that I like. I just love the experience. I grew up with 3 brothers, and I lived all summer on baseball fields as a little girl. I played along the fence line and under the bleachers. And so there's a part of me that goes home when I go to a baseball game, and that's where it feeds. That's the why underneath the what. And I just enjoy it. But what are things you can go do in your community? And what about finding a group of women and taking a painting class together? They have those ceramic stores that do classes, and just gathering people together and going and doing something fun, maybe you don't share your soul in that, but when you share laughter, you connect.
Right.
So sometimes it can be serious and sometimes it can be frivolous, but mix it up and find all the parts of ourselves, and connect on all those levels. And we mentioned friends. I have probably the closest person to me, and I've known her since before my first son was born. So over 40 years I've known her, and we don't live here. We're lucky if we see each other once a year. We've gone years and not seen or even had time to talk to each other. But when we pick up the phone, there's no time. There's no distance. We pick right up. She will know exactly what's going on with me, and I know exactly what might be going on with her. And I cherish that friendship so much because it's the kind of friend that if I'm feeling a certain way, I haven't even maybe paid attention to it, or maybe I know, like this week, I had one of those weeks where I just was processing a lot, and I was like, it would not surprise me one bit for me to look down at my phone and she will have said, "Hey, I just feel like I need to reach out. Are you okay?" It's like clockwork. And the same for her. Like suddenly I know I need to reach out and connect. Is everything okay? And then we have to schedule time to talk, because when we get on the phone, it's never a 10-minute conversation. It's like we really get into that holy space together. And I love that I have that. And I want more of those. It's like we need more of those kind of friends. Now, that's been a 40-year friendship. You can't just create that in 4 days with somebody, but you start there, of finding, how can I show up for you? How do we show up in our community? And that's the point of why this podcast was relevant to me, is how do we show up as a community for people? I have a good friend, another good friend, similar, and she has been going through breast cancer this summer, and she's been documenting it for her community so they know how she's doing or what she might need. And I've been watching it and how this community shows up and supports her as women. Some also going through that, some also having gone through that. She herself being vulnerable and transparent about the entire journey that started this spring, not how she thought she would spend her summer, but the power of that community showing up for her, big and small ways, in every single way matters. But what I want is, how do we do that without it needing to be a cancer diagnosis? How do we show up without it being, a tragic loss, of someone in their life? How do we show up, in everyday life for ourselves, but also for each other? I shared with you all, in March of 2024, I finally said, enough is enough. I am not living actively enough. I need my body to be in motion. And I don't enjoy taking time for myself to exercise. It's very hard for me to push through it. And I had a little mindset shift of taking daily walks, because they say that's the best thing you can do for yourself. You don't have to run. That's hard on your joints. You just walk. Walking is so good for yourself. And it was good for my body, but my mind would go bonkers when I would walk, and I would feel like I was wasting time that I could be being productive, which, society values productivity like crazy, me included. And so it was hard to give myself permission for a 30-minute walk just for the sake of taking care of myself. I had to better listen to a podcast. So I shifted everything, because then I always burn out. I always would stop that routine. And I decided that when I walked, I was going to walk for pleasure, that this was my daily dose of joy. And if I didn't enjoy it, then I would do something different. But I was going to look for ways to enjoy that time of connecting to nature. That's another community that we have, right? It's a community that's very overlooked and underappreciated, but connecting to nature. So I would walk through my neighborhood and connect. I'd see the trees and the birds and the squirrels and neighbors. And I found myself being fed through that 30-minute walk when I quit listening to an educational way to grow or, doing research in my head. I would spend that time trying to still be productive instead of present. And just recently, we went to Italy and came back where we were walking a lot every day. And it was so hot and it was so humid. I didn't enjoy it. I did not enjoy getting out in 90% humidity and 100-degree weather to do my walk. And I missed it. I missed that. So I started getting up earlier, but I also realized the path that I took, because I started wanting to walk longer, like not the short loop, but the long one, took me down a busy street. I had to walk quite a ways down a 4-lane street that's full of traffic and loud noise. And I found myself not enjoying it. And then I walked through a corporate business park that was quiet, but it was a corporate business park. Lots of trees. In North Carolina, we like our trees planted everywhere. It's beautifully landscaped. And so it served a little bit of purpose. Then back on a busy 4-lane to get back home. And we live a mile away from our art museum, which has 5 miles of beautiful trails. And I thought, why don't I went over there? I have to drive there to get to the path. Otherwise, I'm walking down the busy 4-lane highway. So I started doing that this week, and I can't even tell you how I am more connected to me. I am more in touch, which is probably why I'm allowing some processes to happen this last week, because I've been in process myself over a few things. And it's because I've given myself that sense of those sanctuaries we talk about in a previous podcast. I get solitude. I'm walking in the quiet, not near traffic, not with other people. I'm in the woods, sometimes quite a bit of time without seeing another human being, but connecting to nature, walking with another person, having a friend walk with me, connecting that way has been a 100-fold of the pleasure and the joy. So connecting to ourselves, creating a community that allows that part of us to be connected, and connecting to nature, building a community that incorporates nature into those gatherings, connecting to laughter and lightheartedness, connecting to how to be real. How can I be real with you? That doesn't mean tell you my deep, dark shadow side. It's also the real part of me that still dreams and hopes and laughs and celebrates, right? And taking off the mask of I'm fine, I'm just busy, I'm fine. Take the masks off. Let yourself be real, not fine. If you're fine and it's real, go for it. But sometimes I want more from you than I'm fine. I want why, what's great, what's going well in your life and what's not. I know that you all can't, or an audio podcast, but Kristen and I could see each other as we're recording it. And when we first popped on here to do this podcast, I could see Kristen wasn't fine. And she said she was not going to share that she wasn't fine. She was telling me she was fine. And I'm like, your face tells me you're not fine. That's because we connect on a soul level. And if you're not, I'm not either. And so let's work through this. And we took 5 minutes to just sort of put it out there. We didn't solve anything or fix the problem, but we did just say, it's okay for you to be that. And it's okay for me to be my not fine right now. And we'll still come together. And that, to me, creates that kind of community I think where our soul is craving.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I was really going to mask it. I was like, I'm just going to be fine. I'm going to go on. I'm going to just be happy. Then I saw Jenny's face and it just came all out.
Yeah. It's so, and isn't it a relief to know that that's okay?
Yeah. It helps to let it out. And not that every time, like you said, you get together people to vent, but one part of community is to be able to get things out of your head.
Right. Right.
part of the step forward.
Yeah. It's saying today I'm kind of feeling heavy and here's what's going on. And once you've said it, let's talk about you or let's talk about something else. But it's being real.
And sometimes when you get it out of your head, it doesn't seem like as a big of a deal as it was while it was just in your head.
Oh, yeah. Everything's amplified when we hold it in. It just grows and gets to be bigger than it ever really is when you say it out loud. You go.
And some of the things that you're afraid to say out loud, I think when you do and you hear someone else say, me too, you don't feel so alone in it. Like, oh, this is just a me problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, I understand, and being heard, and being understood. The me too is I understand,
right.
The feedback of it sounds like I can see that's really hard for you. You feel heard, right? Like you hear it. And me too is I understand. And that forms those kind of connections we need in our community.
Yeah. I like that you brought up too that nature is a part of community. I never really thought of it that way. I don't know if you saw my face when you said that, but I was like, that is true.
Yeah.
It really is. And not to keep going back to retreat, but nature is a huge part of retreat. So you're not only held by these women, you're held by the trees,
land, the rivers. Yeah.
So just getting outside to connect. I think that's the biggest term with this is connecting.
Yeah, it is.
It doesn't need to be your traditional community of people, even though that is a part of it.
Well, and getting outside ourselves because we're in our house. Like I can sit in my house and not go outside.
Getting outside ourselves. That's it.
Getting outside ourselves to literally be in nature, in the world, in our community, go outside and connect outside yourself even because things are bigger and scarier inside our head. And so getting things outside of ourselves, getting our body outside into nature, getting ourselves outside into community, face to face, hand to hand, connecting soul to soul. And I think that we're starving for this. I really believe that's at the root of a second sub-pandemic after COVID is isolation and disconnect from one another. And I really hope people hear this in a way that says it's real important for us to reclaim that, to reclaim our trips to the river to wash our clothes. Find today's modern version of that and spend time in your community and nurture it and grow and have more than one, have more than one community of people that serve different purposes.
That's true.
And if there's not one, create it. When you said our friend created it, a book club, it's like, okay, if you don't have a friend creating one, be the friend who creates one and invite people.
And I can hear, or I can think of people listening to this thinking, I'm just so busy. How would I fit this in? Where would this happen? Right. What would you say to that? Because it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. And people say that you show what your priorities are. And so I would challenge you I would ask you if this is something that feeds your soul and lifts your spirit and is a medicine greater than some of the most powerful medicines on earth, herbal or otherwise. If you could have something that could enrich your life, what are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give up that hour-long TV show you watch every night? Are you willing to step away from Netflix for a little while? Are you willing to say, family, you're on your own. This is the night I go connect to my community. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Some have more things to do, more kids to watch, or a different season of life. Some work, some don't. It's easier for people. Some have too much time on their hands and others don't have enough time on their hands. But I would ask you, if this is important and you knew it was important, and we go back to that statistic, that I think Brene Brown said, it's like, would I go smoke 15 cigarettes in a day and let that take time off my life? If this is the equivalent, the isolation is equivalent to that. Is your health and your well-being enough of a priority to build your community? It's really getting that it's not a luxury. It's a necessity in our health.
And don't they say too, like if you don't have community as you get older, and that could be wrong. The onset of dementia and Alzheimer's can come early.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does affect it. And if you're not mentally stimulated and there's everybody's heard this study. If you haven't, I'm surprised, but it's really old. And they took it was a study about what do humans need, and they had chimpanzees, I think, and some of them babies were like held and nurtured and fed and had time together, connection. And the others were kept in cribs, isolated from everyone. And they were only given food and water and no human connection. And they did not thrive. They all had the same amount of food. They all had the same amount of water. The only difference was human to human touch and connection, animal to human. But the ones who didn't have that did not grow at the same rate. They did not thrive. And so they've done since then more studies about what is it we need as human beings. You don't have to be an infant to need that connection. And we're dependent as an infant. We're dependent on being held. And we see that, we know that, but we are as adults too. That's that thing we addressed at the top of this episode was we've become too damn independent. And now we're not connected. And so how do we help ourselves grow and thrive through that connection and community? It's not optional. And if you don't, and you get lonely and you don't see people for days, and the Meals on Wheels bring you food and leave it at your door, you're dying. You're not okay. You will get more prone to mental, dementia, Alzheimer's, depression. All those things will settle in. And those are emotional ailments that have physical implications. They take time off your life. So do it now. It's never too late. Build those friendships that are going to be serving you long into life. Being able to be connected to family, that's hard sometimes. Our families have all our triggers built in, but where do we go? Who shows up for us? Find ways to stay in a healthy connection, one that's healthy for you, but also that is part of our original community. You mentioned talking to your sister, it's like I have a brother that's busy and introverted and another that's not an extroverted. Guess which one I talk to more often? But it doesn't mean that I don't need to nurture those bonds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So taking time to build those connections and create that community and I feel strongly that, having connections to a group of women, find a way to do that we all support each other in the connecting.
One thing that's kind of been loud to me in this conversation for me that makes me want to take action is to do something in a learning environment, but something that I enjoy, just meet new people. Not that I need to meet new people, but just to get out of the house and be in something that inspires me and makes me feel creative.
Yes. Tapping into that part of us, the creative, childlike, fun, loving, laughter, enjoy, even in a learning, stimulating environment. Like I love going with people to seminars, and just learning about stuff. But people I don't know yet, it's like a new book on the shelf. When I meet a new person or a new client, I feel like I just got a brand new book.
Same.
And I'm going to learn all this stuff about them, which is going to help me learn stuff about me. And it's an adventure. Mm-hmm. Friendship should be like a grand adventure, that you bring different stories to the table for each other. So we want to leave you with that call to action. Kristen said what she was going to do. I know I'm going to be working on reconnecting some of my community, and I want to work on connecting to people that I take for granted that I know are there, but I don't nurture and connect to until a need or a convenient time. And I want to really put some emphasis and focus on that in that relational category. So we want to challenge you to do the same. Think about your own level of isolation, your own level of loneliness, even though you might be around 400 people a day? Are you feeling some loneliness and not being heard or seen? Are you valued for who you are? Or are you only in an environment where you're valued for what you do? How are you being productive for me? And finding out who's behind the mask of I'm fine. So as you do that self-reflection, always do it with love. We'll talk to you next episode. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you found a spark of wisdom to carry with you, and maybe even a deeper invitation to heal and grow and transform through your own beautiful story. Or maybe this episode made you think of someone who could use encouragement. And if so, I hope you will share it with them. If you'd like to learn more about working with me or attending one of my healing retreats, coaching programs, and other offerings, you can visit my website at jennyaiello.com or email me directly at jenny@jaiello.com. You'll find all the links in the show notes. If today's episode touched you, it would mean the world if you would leave a review or share it with someone who might need it, or just reach out and let me know how it landed for you. I'd love to hear from you. I'm building something special here. Real stories, real life, real connection. One episode, one heart, and one story at a time. As always, with love. Oh, and this is the legal message, but mostly a message from my heart. And I just need to share this with you right now. Please know this podcast is offered solely for educational and entertainment purposes. If you find yourself triggered due to anything that was shared in this podcast, please seek professional help. This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for mental health services. While I am a professional life coach, I am not a psychotherapist, nor am I a mental health clinician. So if you are struggling emotionally, please seek help, because you matter, you are important, and most of all, you are worthy of doing this work, the work that leads you to a better and healthier place. Okay? All right. Thank you. And please always make enough time to take care of yourself, and do so with love.